right, my parents' home is worth $1 million in California. When they pass, what taxes will I pay? With a cost basis goes to market value after death. Now, this was written a slightly different. It was kind of like, hey, my parents are old, but I rewrote it just so it wasn't like, all right. It was like I could tell it was from one of the kids. All right. All right. So here's how it works. Capital. You guys know the answer to this now, right? What happens to the basis of a capital asset when a spouse passes or when somebody passes? It steps up. In California, it's a community property state, so it steps up to fair market value the date the first spouse passes. Second spouse passes, it steps up the remaining portion to the fair market value at the time of death, on date of death. So what taxes will I pay? Well, you're not going to have to pay anything on the inheritance. You're not going to have to pay anything on the actual step up. And if you sell it, you wouldn't pay any tax other than the transfer taxes. The cost basis goes to fair market value. So it's like a pretty big win when that stuff happens. Now, where it's not such a big win is when somebody passes and then the value of that property decreases before you can sell it. And you're still, the IRS uses the date of death. This is not relevant right now for most of us because the federal estate tax exclusion is $11.2 million per spouse, 22.4 million. If you're over that, now we have to be cognizant of the value of that asset because that's still included to the estate tax. Also, there's about 4 states that charge an inheritance tax. And if you happen to be in a state that has an inheritance tax, then if you receive an asset like that, it's the value of the asset, not its cost basis or anything else that is taxable. So it can be a little bit interesting. And then if somebody says in California, if I kept in the family, does the Prop 13 basis change? You know, off the top of your head off of that one?
I don't know about the Prop 13 basis.
Parent, sibling, or child now.
I think you're right.
It's passed.
Yeah. So then they don't have to pay it. And then somebody says, what states as far as the federal estate tax is in all states. The state estate tax is, I think, in 14. And then there are a few, somebody says they cannot hear background responses. Background for that one, Prop 13, parent to kids. Usually it's lineal. That runs in a perpendicular fashion, so it's going downward trend. So it's parents to kids, kids to kids, kids to kids, kids. If you start skipping out or you're going to brothers and sisters, you're probably going to have taxes. The states that have inheritance tax, just off the top of my head, I don't know. I know New Jersey just because I was just looking at it. And in Jersey, again, if you go lineal, you're not going to have the inheritance tax. If you go horizontal, you're going to have inheritance tax. So if you leave it to your brothers and things like that, there's a good chance they're going to be hit. And it's like, I think it's 15% or thereabouts. It's not a small amount. And that's the recipient pays it. But on just about everywhere else, nobody pays it. I'd have to pull up and take a look and see which states would have the other. Thank you. All right. Next one. Let's jump through another one.